Once upon a time, in a small, picturesque town called Virtue, there lived a 13-year-old girl named Cressida. She was known throughout the town for her boundless energy, insatiable curiosity, and a bit of impatience. Cressida had a heart as big as the sky, but like many her age, she found it hard to wait for things to happen. She wanted everything to be quick and immediate, whether it was the blooming of a flower or the completion of her favorite storybook. One crisp spring morning, while Cressida was wandering near the edge of the town, she came across a path she had never noticed before. It was lined with ancient oaks, whose leaves whispered secrets in the breeze. Intrigued, Cressida followed the path until it led her to a gate woven from thick vines and blooming with bright, multicolored flowers. Above the gate was an old, weathered sign that read, "The Garden of Patience." Curiosity piqued, Cressida pushed open the gate and stepped inside. The garden was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was vast and filled with every plant, flower, and tree imaginable. The air was sweet with the scent of blossoms, and the sound of birds singing created a peaceful melody. In the center of the garden stood a small thatched cottage with smoke gently rising from its chimney. Cressida approached the cottage and was greeted by an elderly woman who had a kind face and twinkling eyes. Her hair was silver, and she wore a simple flowing gown that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. "Welcome, dear," the woman said warmly. "I am Keeper Amara, and this is my garden. What brings you here today?" Cressida, always eager to explore new things, explained that she had stumbled upon the garden by accident and was fascinated by its beauty. "This garden is a special place," Keeper Amara said, her eyes sparkling with wisdom. "Everything here grows at its own pace, teaching those who tend it the value of patience and the joy of delayed gratification." "Delayed gratification?" Cressida repeated, slightly confused. Keeper Amara smiled and beckoned Cressida to follow her. They walked through the garden, passing by beds of flowers in various stages of bloom, fruit trees laden with ripening fruit, and vegetables slowly pushing their way through the soil. "Let me show you something," Keeper Amara said as they stopped in front of a small, barren patch of earth. She handed Cressida a single seed. "This is the seed of the rainbow rose. It's a rare and beautiful flower that blooms in every color imaginable. But it requires patience and care. Would you like to plant it?" Cressida's eyes widened with excitement. She loved roses, and the idea of growing one that could bloom in multiple colors was too tempting to resist. "Yes, please," she exclaimed. Keeper Amara nodded approvingly. "Plant it here, water it daily, and tend to it with love. But remember, it will not bloom overnight. It may take weeks, even months, for you to see the first signs of growth. But when it does, it will be worth the wait." Cressida planted the seed with care, and from that day on, she visited the garden every morning. She watered the soil, removed any weeds, and spoke to the seed, encouraging it to grow. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. But still, there was no sign of the rainbow rose. Cressida began to feel frustrated. She wondered if she was doing something wrong or if the seed would ever sprout. One day, as Cressida was about to leave the garden in disappointment, Keeper Amara approached her. "You've done well, Cressida," she said gently. "But remember, patience is not just about waiting. It's about what you do while you wait." Cressida thought about this as she continued to tend to the garden. She noticed the other plants and flowers around her, how they each had their own rhythm, their own time to bloom. She realized that the garden was alive with a quiet, steady energy, and she began to appreciate the beauty of each stage of growth. As the months passed, Cressida found herself changing. She became more patient, not only with the garden, but with herself and others. She learned to enjoy the process of nurturing the seed, rather than just focusing on the result. She also began to help Keeper Amara with other parts of the garden, learning more about the different plants and the care they required. Then one morning, something miraculous happened. As Cressida approached the small patch where she had planted the rainbow rose, she noticed a tiny green shoot pushing through the soil. Her heart leaped with joy, and she knelt down to examine it more closely. It was small, fragile, and barely noticeable, but it was there, a sign that her patience and care were paying off. Years went by, and Cressida continued to visit the garden, watching the rainbow rose grow slowly but steadily. As the delicate bud finally began to unfurl, revealing petals in shades more vibrant than she had ever imagined, Cressida's heart swelled with a sense of fulfillment she hadn't expected. The flower was beautiful, yes, but it was the journey, tending to the soil, learning the rhythm of nature, and nurturing her own patience that had truly changed her. Dulled, Cressida often reflects on her childhood days spent in the Garden of Patience. Surrounded by vibrant flowers and guided by the gentle wisdom of the older lady, she learned the value of waiting with hope and understanding. Those quiet moments of planting seeds, nurturing them, and watching them grow, sometimes slowly, taught her that all good things take time. Now, in her adult life, when challenges arise, she draws on those lessons. The garden gave her the strength to face setbacks with grace, and the faith that, with patience, her efforts will bloom in their own time.